Okay, so I'm currently in Falmouth, Massachusetts, in a little town called Woods Hole, and I am a couple of miles away from the ferry to Martha's Vineyard. And that's where we're going to go today. Actually, we're going to stay there for a few days. And I'm going to do the filming locations for Jaws. Now, Jaws is a movie that had a major influence on my life. What can I say about Jaws that hasn't been said a million times? It's my favorite movie of all time. I just feel like it's a perfect creation of cinema, Hollywood movie making, if you will, despite all the issues they had with filming the movie. Now, the movie was filmed, they started production, I think on May 20th, if I remember correctly, just sometime in May 1974. And all kinds of production issues with the mechanical sharks and the logistics of filming in the Atlantic Ocean. So it really is a marvel. It's a huge achievement, despite all the issues that they had. And it was released to theaters on June 20th in 1975. So the summer of 75 became an instant box office hit, global phenomenon. Everybody wanted to see Jaws in the summer of 1975. And that legacy still lives on today. It is June 2nd, 2024. So 50 years. It's the 50-year anniversary of the filming of Jaws. And I'm going to go check it out. So come with me. It may be Martha's Vineyard to the people who live around here, but to me, today, and for the next few days, it's Amity Island. One of the things I'll add about this film and the impact that it had on me is, for me and millions of other people actually, is it kind of instilled this primal fear into me about what is under the surface of the water. I saw the movie when I was really young, as I know a lot of people did. I was scared to go swimming. I was scared to swim in a swimming pool for a while, without thinking about it. So it was that whole fear of what's under the surface of the water that it stayed with me today. I to this day, I don't swim in the ocean. I won't swim in the ocean, and it's not because I'm afraid Jaws is going to come up and bite me, but it did kind of instill this sort of primal fear of just the unknown, what's lurking in the deep. And to add to that, the Jaws ride at the Universal Studios attraction, I didn't realize how much of an impact Jaws had on me until we took a family vacation to go to Universal Studios. And I think that ride, I know the Jaws ride opened in 1990. I can remember when my parents told me that we were going there, and this was before we even left Maine. I kind of freaked out. I didn't even want to go on this Florida vacation, this annual thing that we'd been doing every year while I was growing up, because I was terrified they were going to get me on that ride. And I love Jaws. So you would have thought I would have been in my glory. Well, once I went on the ride, I was in my glory, but I was terrified to do it. This billboard that I'm going to show you right here, this right here did it for me. It sort of instilled that fear. And I thought, that what you're seeing in this image here, this billboard, this promotional image for this ride, was what was going to happen. And I was terrified. But I've since been on it many times. Unfortunately, they closed it and made way for Harry Potter. The Wizarding World of Harry Potter, Diagon Alley, I believe, is currently where the Jaws ride used to be. So it's incredibly sad that that is no more. It was one of my favorite rides. But yeah, that was responsible for a large part of that fear. One of the interesting things about going to Martha's Vineyard by ferry, as someone who grew up on an island and is used to taking ferries to and from the mainland for half of my life, was just how different their ferry system is to ours. For one, they have like 5 lanes, if you will, on the boat, and you basically just drive straight on, which is drastically different from what I'm used to. And our ferries, the bows are kind of curved, so you have to follow the AB's instructions and sort of maneuver your vehicle tightly up against the sides so they can pack in as many vehicles as possible. And then on top of that, they have amenities like you wouldn't believe compared to what I'm used to. There's a full lounge, plenty of seating, nice cushioned seats, a little snack bar. You can get meals, you can get something to eat. They actually serve alcohol, which was very surprising. We never had anything like that. So it was just really interesting to see just the differences in the ferry system. They can definitely take a little bit more liberties and make it a much more relaxed and sort of casual sailing experience. Welcome to Amity Island.
Amity Island has long been known for its clean air, clear water, and beautiful white sand beaches. But in recent days, a cloud has appeared on the horizon of this beautiful resort community. A cloud in the shape of...
All right, so we've arrived in Vineyard Haven, and this is the location. As you can see, this is where the boats come in and out. This is the one that they use in the film. You can see this shot here. It's taken from over here. Kind of like this, when you got all the passengers walking off and the guy with the bike. And then at some point when you see the boat coming in, you can see the breakwater right there, that little stone wall. And then you can see that orange marker right there. You can see that. And the boat is kind of passing the breakwater right there and bringing everybody to the island. And then when they open the doors to the boat and the passengers start disembarking, you get this shot right here. That little blue building right there was the bike rental shop. And as you can see, well, it's on the other side of this bus here, they now have a new sign that says bike rentals, and they've kind of redone that building. But you get this shot here, kind of looking up the street, like that. And you got a little bit of the sidewalk over there on the left. And then you can see that little bump out all the way up the street. You can see those 2 windows. And then below that, those 2 shop front windows, those are still the same. And you can clearly make out the shot. A lot of changes, obviously. It's been 50 years, but You can definitely tell that's the spot. And as the doors to the ferry open up and people start walking out, and there's the craziness of the 4th of July weekend, you can see that house in the background, straight back, all the way back, that white house and the 2 chimneys on the right. That is in the shot. And then there's a larger white house right next to it to the left, but it's currently blocked by that big tree. But that's it. All right, so this location is Chief Brody's house. And we see the exterior a couple of times, but the biggest one is when he backs out of the driveway here. And you can see that building is still here. It's moved a little bit and they've changed it somewhat. But he backs out of the drive and drives right down this road. And I'm gonna do that. Now the house is obviously a different house. They tore that one down and put this one up. Not entirely sure of the reasoning behind that, but they did. So Brody's house, and then you can see my truck down there. Drives right down the road here. You can see those 2 houses in the shot. We are currently at South Beach. This would be the location of the opening of the film, the opening campfire, all the teenage kids on the beach having a little party where we're introduced to Chrissy. And she goes swimming, and that would have been up there, up along the top of the dunes here. She runs that way.
What's your name again?
Chrissy.
Where are we going?
Swimming.
And just a little further down is where they discover her body, but unfortunately they're doing all this dune restoration work. I think they've completely redone this. And actually, as you can see, there's a road right here. Now this road went straight in, and there was dunes on both sides. And as you can see, that has been filled in, and they're trying to restore this. So that campfire shot may no longer be possible. So as you can see here, the beach access is right through this fencing that they've added, and you can only take this little narrow path to get onto the beach. You can't access it from the road over here, which is where that campfire location was. But I can tell you that on this side, right up here on the top of this dune area, again, it's changed. This is all restoration work, so they've brought in more sand and they're really trying to fill it in, and so it's not the exact same, but it was right up here on this rise where Chrissy's running and getting ready to go for a swim where she'll ultimately meet her demise. Now the scene where she actually dies, she gets attacked by the shark, was filmed at a different beach. I believe it might be private, but we're certainly going to try to go there and find out for sure whether it's private. But that did not happen here. But first we're going to see, and they did find her body. A little ways down there. I think it's probably just on the other side of maybe that dune right there to the right of frame. The beach is down over a little hill. And we'll check it out. But like I said, it looks very different today. Okay, well, as you can see, that's the road right there where the entrance into the party scene would have been. So if you're panning this way, this is what it looks like right now. So really nothing. They filled it in. This is all filled in here, so there's no opening that you can come through. And I stood up on the dune area here. I don't know if this was, you know, if this is what's left of this side, or if this is all new as well. And you got some of this old stuff here. And then down here you got that side where you can see what, you know, looks like a little bit of the old stuff as well right there. But it's impossible to know where that opening was, other than it's somewhere right here. And it's a shame. But this is the spot. Okay, so another scene that we get here at South Beach is when Chrissy's boyfriend for the night is coming to show Chief Brody, you know, where this all went down. And they're coming down. I mean, again, a lot has changed. It's hard to say exactly where this spot was. But they walk down a little opening onto the beach, and then Deputy Hendricks is blowing his whistle because he's found Chrissy's body, and Brody and this boy are running in this direction. And you can see, so it's this dune up here on the hill. There's like a little lifeguard tower, and they're basically running along the beach here, and that's pretty much the scene. And then it cuts to Deputy Hendricks' face with the whistle in his mouth, and then we get to see Chrissy's hand in the seaweed, and there's crabs all over it. And you can tell this is the spot because obviously the dunes, and again, it's changed, you know, they've really eroded over time, and they're doing a major restoration project here to get them built back up. But you can see, if you look off in the distance, I'll zoom in, you can see the dune on the right, but if you look off in the distance in the shot, you can see the way the beach curves around here, right up into here. You can see that in the shot where they're running. But that's pretty much it. So unfortunately, that's going to do it for South Beach. There's not really a lot to see here anymore. It's a beautiful beach, but there's really nothing to match up that you're going to recognize. I think, honestly, the dune up here, where the lifeguard tower would have been, or stand, that's probably the only thing that's the closest thing here to match up. It's really a shame, not just for me in this trip, because all the other locations so far have actually been really impressive. But this was a big one I was really excited about, and unfortunately it's changed so much, and you can't even walk up here on the dune area because they're trying to replant the growth and brought in the sand, and they're just trying to fix it back up. So you can't even get up there. And there's just nothing to match up. So it's kind of a bummer. This was a big one. But, you know, it is what it is, 50 years later. But this is where it all happened. Off to the next one. Okay, so this is the spot where Chrissy went for her midnight swim in the nude. Right out here in this water, you can actually see that little island out there in the background as she's running out into the water. And her date for the night is kind of passed out on the beach right over here. Again, the tides were a little different, so it's not going to match up 100%. But that's where it happened. Crazy to be here. One of the most iconic scenes in film history happened right here. Wow. And that was Susan Backlini, rest in peace. She just passed away very recently. So, this is a private beach. We're not technically supposed to be here, but we talked to some fishermen down here, and they were basically saying that as long as you're carrying a fishing pole, you can go anywhere you want. Nobody can tell you you can't go on any beach as long as you got a pole in your hand. And we asked if we could borrow his pole just long enough to come down here and get this shot. So this is private property. Do not trespass. If you ever want to come visit this filming location for yourself, find a friend or buy a fishing pole. Could be a Barbie fishing pole. But get yourself a fishing pole. Come to this beach. No one can touch you. Okay, so here we are in Edgartown. This is the spot, our Amity police station, actually, if you can believe it. And Brody comes right out of there. This is where he does the walk. Everybody does the walk when they do Jaws filming locations. But he comes out of this gate right here. This arch wasn't here at the time. This is all grown up. But you can see this house in the background, and there's an empty lot right there where you could see that he had parked his cruiser. But he comes out of there and starts walking down this way, just like this, and you can see these windows. Now this bump out has changed. There used to be 3 windows here, and they added that bump out, and then this screened in porch wasn't here. And then he walks around this way, right around this fire hydrant. The hydrant itself has also changed. And then right up this street, headed towards Main Street. And you'll see him pass under this massive tree. It's gotten much larger over the years, but you can see that in the background of the shot. He'll pass by these columns here. And we get this shot here. which is also changed a little bit. And then we get this shot here. And then as Brody's passing this location here, this right here, this empty lot would have been where that bicycle shop was. And the gentleman's complaining about the sick vandals breaking his fence. And he's holding up the bike wheel. That's all right here. And this is the mayor's office, if you will. And then Brody basically comes right down here. And this is Main Street. And up here you would have had the 4th of July banner going across. And this would have been the Amity Bank. Then as Brody's making his way, he walks right down here and crosses this crosswalk and heads up this way to buy some paintbrushes and stuff to make the signs. And when he gets the stuff to make the signs, he comes out here of this shop front and is looking this way, at which point Deputy Hendricks whips around the corner and pulls up right here and talks to Brody, and Brody says to make up the signs that say beach is closed, no swimming, by order Amity PD. You get a little tight shot kind of like this where Hendricks is leaned over in the cruiser talking to Brody. So this location is in Edgartown, and this is the scene where, well, a bunch of things happen here. Hooper arrives here for the first time, and this is also where we see the hanging of the tiger shark when they think they've caught the shark. And then also Mrs. Kentner shows up and slaps Brody. So my best guess is this is where the tiger shark would have been hanging, like right about in here, everybody kind of standing behind. And right here is where the harbor master's little shack would have been. Obviously this area's been gone through a lot of changes in 50 years, but the building would have been like right here on this side. And then this building here is also different. It's changed. There was a building here, but this is not the same as what was here during filming. But you can see in the background of some of the shots, if you look closely, you can see this house with that window up there and the little widow's peak to the right. And then there's another one, see if I can, right up there, where you see that wheel under the window. And that's the moment when we see the tiger shark hanging from this angle, and the fishermen are kind of standing there with it, and you hear Hooper say, "It's a tiger shark." And the guy turns and looks at the camera and says, "Oh, what?" And then right over here, where these folks are cleaning their boat, that's about where Hooper would have arrived. And like I said, this whole area has changed quite a bit. You know, a lot of the docks and floats are new and different than they were at the time. You know, you've got concrete here now, and it used to be all rocks. So I've been right about here in this area where Hooper shows up, steps off the boat, says, "Hello." My guy says, "Hello yourself." You got these buildings in the background here. You can clearly see in the shot. This one with the chimney, and then this one here. And some of the buildings, you can see these houses, these white houses out here. Some of them are the same. Some of them are new. Some of them are gone. And obviously all these floats, you know, these little piers, they've changed. They're not the same ones that were here during filming. But this is the location. And when Mrs. Kintner approaches Brody about the death of her son and knowing that the beaches were unsafe, that was right in this little area here. This is Gay Head Light here. A lot happens at this location, but a lot has changed. For starters, the lighthouse, it's in the same, it's the same distance back, but it was actually over there. That was kind of the entrance to the lighthouse, and they actually moved this lighthouse. There was some erosion going on the cliffside, and in order to protect and preserve the lighthouse, they decided it would be best to move it a little bit further inland, so it wasn't really in the way. But then we have this. So when we first get to this location, we see Chief Brody coming up the road here. He's driving up the road, and the camera kind of pans with him like this as he drives past the lighthouse. If you look up the road here, I apologize, the wind is really picked up here. But if you look up the road here, you can't see the entirety of the road just because, well, the green growth has kind of grown in and grown up on the right hand side of all those power lines. But the road does go all the way up, and you can see the power poles. So all those power poles go up there, and those are in the shot. Now, as I said, a lot has changed here, and one example of that is actually these benches. There were benches here at the time of filming, but these are not those benches. They've been replaced, and they're in slightly different spots than they were during production. Now, this scene here is when Hooper and Brody had just gone out to look for the shark, and they stumble upon Ben Gardner's boat. Now, while they're out there in the darkness, that's actually not filmed anywhere here around Martha's Vineyard. That was actually done in a lagoon at Universal Studios in Hollywood. This would be just after that. You know, the fishermen had gone out. They were all trying to get the shark. All that happened. And then after that, they find the tooth. When Hooper dives down and tries to get a look at the underside of the boat, and that's when the head pops out. And is one of the biggest and best jump scares in Hollywood history right there. But after that, Hooper finds the tooth from the shark in the boat, and they decide that they need to warn the mayor. We need to not only shut down the beaches, we need to hire somebody to kill the shark, which is where Quint will come into play later. But they have a bit of an argument here. And at the time, they're coming up and they're kind of walking in between these benches. You can see that sort of rest area over there in the shot. It's not the same building, but it's in the same place. Now, it's right about here in this location where the billboard would have been, which was obviously created for production. But it was built kind of right here. And Brody drives right past it up on this road. And then during the argument scene with the mayor, you have Hooper and the mayor are kind of at it right here in front of the billboard. Now, there is a lot to get at this location, and you'll see some of my shots are not going to match up 100% because so much has moved. The benches, the billboard is gone, the lighthouse has moved. And now, the rocks. Now, if you look at these 4 rocks right here, at the time of filming, and for many years after filming, where this rock is where the Hooper rock was. So right here we get another great scene. The mayor that they really need to shut down the beaches and hire somebody to kill the shark. And the mayor's just not having it and basically says,
"For Christ's sake, tomorrow's the 4th of July."
Very iconic, memorable line from Jaws. And it happened right here. right across from the Edgartown Lighthouse, right there. And the Chappaqua Ferry, and that's Chappaqua over there. That's their side. This is so cool to me, how this tiny little ferry, it holds 3 or 4 cars and just runs from right there, right over to there, back and forth all day long from 6:30 a.m. until midnight. And this is the old Sculpin Gallery, and is also the building that inspired the look of Quint Shack that they basically recreated to look like Quint Shack up on Menemsha. And you can see there's a shot here where you can see that sign that's still here today, Old Sculpin Gallery, where you have this shot of Brody looking over his shoulder as he's watching the ferry leave. Okay, so here I am at the famous Jaws Beach from the 4th of July swimming scene and the death of Alex Kintner. Now, they have moved the beach back, and you may recognize this beach line, if you will, but it actually used to be set back further, and you can see, I'll show you the discoloration in the jetty where they added on and extended this rock wall out right here. So as you can see here, the jetty goes like this, and you can see where the change in color of the rocks, which would have meant that the brownish colored rocks is where it ended in the film, which is basically the very end of it. And that would have put the hot dog stand would have been about right over here. Excuse me, right over here. And the tents would have been all lined up over here. And even Brody, the famous shot of Brody, would have been somewhere over in this area. So it's crazy to see how far back this beach has gone, where they added on right about there, all the way down to the end. And yeah, it's basically the end of the original jetty here, just a few rocks in. This angle right here is where Brody's bent over telling Michael to take the boat and go into the pond, which of course is on the other side of the Jaws Bridge. So a lot of really exciting stuff happens here. But it has changed. Even the bridge itself has changed. It's not an old wooden bridge anymore, and the columns have changed. It's all concrete now. But still clearly recognizable as the Jaws Bridge and the jetty. So it's right here where Chief Brody does his run. There's a shark in the pond. And Chief Brody knows that he just sent Michael into the pond. So in a panic, he gets up on the jetty and runs towards the Jaws Bridge. And this right here is exactly where that run began. So it's this angle here. This is the exact angle where he starts his run. Go all the way up to the Jaws Bridge to get to the other side. One of the most iconic scenes in cinematic film history. I apologize about the wind. It's pretty windy here, but hopefully you can see this. This area right here is where the original jetty ended. And then as you move past these rocks right here, you can see how far out they extended the jetty. So the beach originally would have curved and may round that corner right about here, which is kind of crazy to think about. That's a lot of land. But you can still line up the shot of the shoreline of the beach over here by going all the way to the end. You can still line it up. It's just you're not in the exact same spot where all that stuff happened during filming. That would have been right here and onward. Hopefully that makes sense. I know it's a little confusing. It's one of those things that's kind of hard to describe and see maybe from video, but when you're here, it really does make a little more sense. So this is it. This is the famous Jaws waters where poor Alex Kintner met his demise. We're actually going to meet him here in just a few moments. I had to come and take a look at this. It's so weird, you know, this body of water, nightmare fuel. When I was young, terrified of Jaws. And it all started right here, this body of water. And I never in a million years thought I would ever be here, come here, stand here. I can tell you this much. 10-year-old me wouldn't be caught dead near this water.
Billy decided he would like to bring home a special souvenir from the beach from Jaws, and that is some actual sand. So here he goes, collecting his Jaws that you collected your sand. What are you gonna do next?
If I could put it in tiny little vials, sell it for like 50 bucks a pop. Make some money. Okay, so now we're on the other side with the jetty over there. That's where all the 4th of July happenings were. And Brody runs along the jetty and the beach scene and all that. Well, now we're on the other side of the Jaws Bridge. And over here is the pond. And this is where we see Peaches on the beach right here doing a painting. Now my tripod actually surprisingly kind of matches the easel. It has 3 legs, so we've got that for reference. And she's kind of standing right here, and she notices the shark heading towards the pond. And she kind of steps out around here and says, "It's a shark, shark." And then she goes right over here and gets on this rock. And she's standing right here where she's pointing that way towards the pond, trying to warn everybody on the other side that there's a shark headed into the pond. And we're gonna go over there now. All right, so this is the pond. It's really changed a lot. If you look up here on the bridge, you can see right about there, kind of near where Mary is, would have been where Brody jumps over the other side and starts running up along the beach here to get his son, who just barely missed getting attacked by the shark himself, but instead another unsuspecting victim in a rowboat took the hit on that one. And that particular shot and scene, in my personal opinion, was the scariest part of Jaws, when you can see the shark kind of coming at him just below the surface of the water at a sideways angle. That's terrifying. And that's what instilled that fear in me that's lasted my entire life. It was that particular moment. And it would have been right here. Now they filmed that actual attack scene in a different area. But they filmed the sequence out here. But the attack scene where the shark comes up, that was filmed in a different spot. But this is it, and as you can see, a lot of the beach line that was over here is completely submerged underwater now. So unfortunately, after this entire scene, we get to see Chief Brody's point of view, where he's looking back out towards the open ocean. Because I'm in the pond right now, and he's looking under the bridge, and the camera kind of zooms. Unfortunately, I'm not going to get in the water. But it's taken from out here looking that way. And it just kind of does like a little zoom like this under the bridge, looking out into the open water. So this would have been the view. I'm on top of the bridge now, but this would have been the view from underneath the bridge. From inside the pond, looking out into the open ocean. That's the ending shot of this sequence. So Edgartown Town Hall stands in for Amity Town Hall. Now obviously this was filmed in 1974, and in sometime between 1990 and 1991 they did some major renovations and an addition to the town hall. So it can be a little tricky to get your bearings when you come to this location in terms of where things were filmed. When you walk down to the end of this hall here, which is the scene where there's all the commotion and kind of chaos when everybody's getting ready for the town meeting about whether or not to close the beaches, you walk into this meeting room. And here you can see that beautiful desk, that iconic desk. This is the same desk that they used during filming. It's just in a different place. It's not in the same space that it was during filming, but this is the same screen used desk, as well as the clock that you see up on the wall behind the desk. That is the same clock that was used during filming, and that clock is actually behind the chalkboard that Quint runs his fingernails down when he is trying to get everybody basically to convince them to hire him to kill the shark. And you can catch a glimpse of that clock just above the chalkboard where Quint is here. And then we move into the tax assessor's office. Now, directly across from where Quint is sitting in this scene next to the chalkboard, directly across the room is where you see those kind of iconic windows, those 3 windows. And the desk at the time would have been in front of those windows where everybody's sitting. So you can see how it would be a little tricky to get your bearings in this space, because the tax assessor's office is now closed in with walls and its own door. It's a very small little office room. And at the time of filming, where the desk was in front of these windows here, this was the big open meeting room space. But they've since added in a stairwell and closed off a wall and put up a corkboard where the chalkboard and Quint were sitting at the time. So while the desk and the clock aren't in this particular space anymore, it's still cool to get that shot in front of these windows. So in this shot, when we see Quint leaving the town meeting, this door that you see behind the corkboard, it's the same doorway. It's a different door, obviously, but it's the same doorway that he walks through when he walks down the hall and leaves this meeting, which is directly past the tax assessor's office where those 3 windows were. And like I said before, it can be a little tricky to get your bearings at this location. But if you study this map that shows the layout prior to the renovation and the updates, you can kind of get an idea of where all of this stuff was. So this is as close as I can get to the scene where they do the holiday roast.
I'm tired. Let's stop before someone reports us. We better catch something. This is my wife's holiday roast.
Don't worry about it. $3,000 buys an awful lot of roast.
2 fishermen try to go out and catch the shark themselves. And Jaws takes the holiday roast and ends up pulling the entire dock with it. And fishermen go into the water, but they do make it unscathed. And you can clearly see this house here in the background.
Come and get it!
Tide's taking it right out.
And down right there, that's where the dock used to be. And that's where they filmed this sequence.
Hey, he's taking it, he's taking it, he's taking it! Hey! Hey, go! Go, 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 go!
Right here. It's a private beach, so unfortunately we can't get any closer than that. over the Jaws Bridge. So this location is the Christine Pease House. Now, this place served as the production offices for Jaws in 1974. And a little fun fact about this location is I actually filmed a couple of scenes here. So on the left-hand side of the front door, you can see that window there. That is the spot where they filmed Chief Brody writing up his police report and shark attack after seeing the remains of Chrissy's body. And then on the right-hand side, those windows, that is where Hooper and Brody go to show Hooper Chrissy's remains, and he makes the determination that it was, in fact, not a boating accident, and it was a shark.
Here's to swimming with bow-legged women.
Okay, so here I am in Menemsha, and this is the location for Quint's shack. And it would have been right there on the other side of those pylons where they built Quint's shack to kind of look like the Sculpin Gallery in Edgartown. Kind of mimic the look of that building because they liked that. They built it right here between these two structures on the other side of the pylons. It looks like now it's like somebody's garden. It's like private property. You can't really stand in there. And I'm going to show you from the other side what it looked like as well. But I just wanted you to see from this side. This is where Quint and Brody and Hooper are finally getting ready to head out to sea on the Orca and see if they can track down this shark. And this is really the last sequence on land. So once they leave this port here, they're no longer on land. And everything else in the rest of the film is out to sea. So after they pull away from here, there's a shot from up high, kind of watching them pull out. And I'm going to see if I can get that too while we're here. It's a shame the structure's not there, but it was built for production. So they tore it down just after they finished filming. So it is what it is. But this is this side. Now we're going to see if we can look at it from the other angle. All right, so this was the spot of Quint's shack where he and Brody and Hooper left. This is the final scene from the film on land. It's about halfway through the movie. It's about half of it is at sea and half of it is on land. And then it's now somebody's garden, it kind of looks like. Sort of fenced in here, as you can see, so we can't get up in there, unfortunately, but you can kind of see where it was, and you can make out those buildings in the background. This red one here, this one here, this building here. So I mean, a lot of that is unchanged. But this is where you had that famous shot of the shark's jaws and the camera kind of doing this, zooming in as they're going out to sea. Final shot of the film, of the sequence on land. Okay, so here's a better view of this whole little inlet here, where we see the last of Brody and Hooper and Quint on land. And from there, we go out to sea, and we know how that all ends up. But this is it. We see them coming from where Quint's shack was down there, right down here. It's a nice little panning shot. Follows them out of the harbor. And then when they get to this little white building here, the whole screen turns red, which I think is kind of foreshadowing what's to come. And then it opens up to some chum in the water, in the red water. This is it. The end of the big three on land. So we get this shot here as Brody's watching his wife walk away as they're backing out of the little inlet here, the harbor, if you will. It's just another cool angle. This is as close as I can get from here, but you do see this open space right here, and then of course Quint's shack was right there. I wanted to do something a little bit different, a little more unique, something that hadn't really been done before with my Jaws filming locations video and my trip to Martha's Vineyard. And that ended up being, where were the sequences where they filmed the shark on the water? A lot of people visit Martha's Vineyard and they do all the stuff on the land, which makes sense. I wanted to get the stuff from the water. And shortly before the trip, I happened to be looking through this fantastic book by Matt Taylor, Memories from Martha's Vineyard, great behind the scenes photos and content. And I happened to stumble upon this image with these two houses in the background. And I just thought, if we can find these houses, we can figure out exactly where that body of water was where they filmed this, because it was right next to the shoreline. And all we knew is that it was filmed in Catawba Bay. So now that we had that information and those screenshots, all we had to do was get to the island and make this happen. And we got lucky with our tour guide. Angie Fisher from Naughty Girl Excursions was able to take us to this exact spot. She knew where it was. Her dad had told her stories about the filming. He witnessed it all. And she took us right there. And she was fantastic. All right, so this is the location in the water where they filmed a lot of the shark sequences, including the ending where we have Brody, where Brody shoots the shark and blows up the shark, and we get this smile, you son of a bitch. This right here, this moment happened right here. This is where they filmed it.
Smile, you son of a...
There's some behind the scenes photos that are, you can see the whole body of the shark on the hydraulic system that they put in the water. And that is all filmed right here in this little cove. And you can see that house a little bit in the background. There's a little piece of it, and then some of that rock wall. I'm gonna give you a look at it now, and then I'm gonna show you all the photos for all the stuff that was filmed here. Hooper going into the cage was filmed here. Slow now. Slow. Slower. Slower. Yeah. The estuary with a guy in the little rowboat. The most terrifying shot in the whole film, in my personal opinion, where Jaws is kind of coming at him sideways under the water. All filmed right in here. So I'm going to give you a better look, and then I'm going to show you those photos for what happened in this spot. You can almost see Bruce coming up out of the water. Like you can almost see it where he jumps onto the boat. All right here. All the most intense moments of the film. Right here. All right, so hopefully you can hear me. It's really windy here, but we made it to the final shot of Jaws. Right here, Cape Pogue Lighthouse. And this is the shot where we see Hooper and Brody on the yellow barrels as they swim to shore. Fun fact that I know pretty much everybody knows, if you watch them the whole time, they do come to shore way off in the distance as the credits are rolling at the end of the film. This is a very difficult location to get to. We had to take a boat here. We ended up on a private beach and had to get back onto the boat, and we got brought to this spot so we could get the shot. And this is better because we didn't have to walk a ways to get here. It basically pulled up right up to the beach, popped right over to the other side, and here we are. There's been a lot of erosion here. So the beach, as you can see, kind of starting to extend out more. But this is it. The iconic, coveted shot, final shot from Jaws. This is it. Not very many people have this shot. It's actually really difficult to get here. There's only a couple of ways you can get here. We chose by boat, and it worked out great. It's a trip being here. Okay, so that concludes our trip to Amity Island. We can now return to Martha's Vineyard. That's fine. We've had our fun. We've had 4 days of awesome weather. Couldn't possibly have gone any better. As you can see, it's a little rainy right now. So I think that's the island's way of telling us it's time for us to go. We've had our fun. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you got to see everything 50 years since the release of the film. I'm sorry, the filming of the film, the making. And thought it was awesome. I had a blast. I feel like we got everything. So I hope you enjoy it. Catch you in the next one. Here's a little fun fact. The rating. I was always baffled at the PG rating of this film, and they skirted the R rating by convincing the ratings board that it shouldn't be rated R because this is a real-life thing that exists in nature. So all they had to do was make a few minor cuts to the film, like shortening the length of the shot of the estuary victim's legs sinking to the bottom. And apparently that was enough to be awarded a PG rating. They actually didn't enact the PG-13 rating until 1984 when there was pushback from concerned parents following the release of Gremlins and Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. 2 massive films that year, both involving Steven Spielberg, ironically. And one of the more fascinating and interesting things about the film to me is that as a kid I never saw Jaws as a natural animal in the ocean who only attacked and ate people for the real-life reasons a great white shark might take a bite out of a human being. In many ways, I still don't. To me, Jaws was a monster, and this was a monster movie. Everything it did seemed deliberate and calculated, as if it knew exactly what it was doing. It wasn't just operating on pure animal instinct like a real great white would. Its attacks were more like that of a murderer or serial killer, intentional.
Show me the way to go home. I'm tired and I wanna go to bed. I had a little drink about an hour ago, and it's got right to my head. Wherever I may roam, by land or sea or foam, you will always hear me singing this song. Show me the way to go home. Show me the way to go home. I'm tired and I
grew up on an island, so he's going to go out to Martha's Vineyard in a few months to do all the locations, to go and retrace your steps. He's excited about it.
I usually do them but it's fine, and I'll take more.
We do filming location. We visit famous filming locations for the movies that we love and stuff.
You decide. You've got time. If you want me hard.
I've experienced a great deal of it.
Perfect.
Yep.
Awesome.